Hello, everybody. It is just about time for us to start this Losers 16th match. It is Ednolium versus Sabo. Sabo having the slightly faster personal best. However, Sabo also being somebody who has had a little bit of difficulty in some of these races in terms of getting to make sure that he's showing his best performance, let's say, having things go down relatively problem-free. Ednolium, on the other hand, been kind of a model of consistency despite not having quite as fast of a time in terms of personal best. So we are just about ready to start. It looks like Sabo doing a preload, but I will, turn on the switch layout whenever it is time. Seems like Ed's just getting in a bit of last second practice and, kind of making sure that he's warm for the race. Sabo is chilling on the title screen right now. But it would be cool if Ednolium were on the title screen so we could get started. I guess technically it is not quite 9 o'clock yet. All right, so he is going to be restarting his game. This, of course, a relatively new development in terms of the run session optimization, where people used to think that, closing the game and reopening it would make sure that the memory leak was fresh and not already accumulating issues. And now it's the hyper missile counter that people are kind of doing the same thing for. Yeah, and doing the preload. Okay, so it looks like Ed is just about ready. And so is Sabo. So countdown has just about started. So yeah, I'm very excited to see the dynamic at play here. These are both two players who have been very rapidly improving. Ednolium started this tournament at 11th seed, but I think that if you look at the personal bests, he's definitely proven himself to be above that in terms of potential. Yeah, so they're pretty much in sync so far, starting at the pause screen. They're both getting a good movement going into Artaria, obviously. Ednolium seemed to load in a little faster. I don't know if that was a sync issue, but the timer is looking about right.
So I want that I just if you want.
The first thing through Artaria that you want to look for is essentially just the basic movement. It's not a very trick-heavy start outside of a few specific things, mainly water ass, water platform skip, and of course the Phantom Cloak, or not the Phantom Cloak, the Pseudo Waves, which can get you Phantom Cloak faster. So the climb, we're going to see the shot, 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 and then slide through from Ednolium. Sabo just going straight in. This is an all bosses run, so they are going to have to fight every single boss, which means that while, yes, you can pseudo to skip this first broken enemy, it is required to fight, as the game does technically consider it a boss fight, very weirdly. Ednolium doing a shot through the hole. Looks like Sabo went for the same thing. Kind of one of those things that a lot of people do, sort of as a fidget almost, where they will just pick a random piece of movement that they like to do that doesn't really save or waste time, and it's just totally optional. It's kind of like puts a little flavor in your play style, makes it so that everybody is everybody can see that you're feeling comfortable. You're not stressing right now, because speedruns are stressful. Everything's happening to you all the time, and the goal is to do it as fast as possible, which means you can't really mess up. Every mistake is a mistake. We're at the Great Equalizer. Sabo getting the first shot, and then also getting the second shot before Ed has even gotten one. That is going to give him a very nice little lead to start out the game. We're going to be seeing early cloak. So the advantage of this is multitudinous. One, it makes water ass easier, which is a big skip. And two, it's just generally more efficient routing to fight Corpius prior to the Magnet Emmy, just in the terms of the macro route. And because Ednolium was a little bit slower, it's definitely going to be a nice lead for Sabo. But the thing that's cool about this fight is that you have 30 missiles on rookie mode, so it is possible to skip the third phase if your aim is very good. It looks like Sabo missed quite a few missiles, so did Ednolium, unfortunately. So neither of them are going to be able to get the 2 phase, but Sabo and Ed both were exactly 1 missile short, and thus were able to not have to do an extended third phase and only do the slide under animation, which makes it not even really that big of a time loss. So that's very good on that end. Always love to see it. But as you can see here, Sabo is taking a commanding lead. He's already done this full, second... I kind of think of it as like a mini climb, because it's a similar sort of thing where, there's just all these ledges, and you just have to, try and do a bunch of perfect height jumps and buffered quick rises, and there are wall jumps you can take that, kind of get you to the second fastest movement safely, but also lose a decent amount of time to the first fastest movement, which is, of course, those perfect buffered quick rises. So there is no Emmy in this first little Emmy zone here, because even though we fought the broken Emmy, the Magnet Emmy is still alive, but we haven't met him yet. And so what we have to do is go through this section. Normally there's an Emmy in the way, and we're going on our way to Charge Beam. But because we don't have the Emmy, they can do slightly more efficient movement, because they don't need to manipulate the Emmy's position in any way or work around it. And for the second trick after Water Ass, which Sabo just got very, very quickly, that was extremely nice to see. We also see this water platform skip coming up, which is at this point kind of one of the older moves. And we're seeing a first try from Ednolium as well. Water platform skip. Again, yeah, like I said, a very old trick. It's kind of one that if you are learning Dread, it's just kind of one of the first things that you learn, because it is such a nice, big optimization to happen in Artaria, which is your early game where you're generally more willing to try these high-stakes tricks, just because if you reset, you don't lose that much progress. So Sabo is in possession of the Charge Beam. This will allow him to open the path to the Magnet Emmy, to fight the Magnet Emmy. On the way, we're going to have to take advantage of a slight optimization that Artaria 1 offers if you take this Cloak first route, which is that we don't need to go back into the Atom Room and then wait for the slow door to open and then go around. Instead, we can just slide through a cloak door because we already have cloak. And that is just such a big help for just the general optimization of the run. It's even worth it if you don't have the ability to do that. For example, on a 0% run, but it's just another like thing on the pile of all this time you're saving in Artaria 1 by doing cloak first. Alright, so I love the melee off the ledge as soon as he broke the blob from Sabo, because it's one of those little kind of awkward areas where there's one platform that's slightly taller than the one below it, so you can melee to it, but like they're not that close together, so you can definitely miss it if you melee like half a tile too early or whatever. It just makes it all the cooler when it does work out. Yeah, so we're seeing another difference in playstyle there. Sabo, despite also shooting the missile through the hole, similar to Ednolium at the start of the run in the Broken Emmy Zone, opted not to break this block and open this door that Ednolium did. It actually wastes no time at all, apparently. I was originally told that it wasted about 2 frames, but apparently that's not true. And so all you're really accomplishing by breaking that block and opening that door is just you're unleashing your aggression into the universe. But enough about that. We're going to see Sabo do an unset-up Magus skip, 3rd try. That is like 1.5 tries of the long setup version. So as far as that goes, you can think of it as just kind of getting a somewhat slow attempt on the no setup version. Ednolium does 1 attempt at the no setup, but converts to the setup Magus skip right after, which is again very it's very quick. It's not really wasting that much time, but it is still some time that Sabo has gained over Ednolium at this point, and he's got a pretty sizable lead for this start of the game. Like for how close we are to the beginning of the run, we're only 8 minutes in. We're already seeing a like 10-second lead from Sabo. And what that tells me is that Sabo is very on top of it with his movement. So we're probably not going to be seeing too much flubbed movement from Sabo. Now, Ednolium also moving very well right now. The tricks are not quite on point. The Magus skip, it was like 4th try. 3 of them were setups. And we could see that cascade one way or the other, depending on whether you consider Atom skip a trick or movement, per se. That's for the philosophers to decide. I'm not the final voice on the topic. So they are a part of a Magnet Emmy cutscene away from each other. Sabo is going to start advancing to the last little trick of Artaria 1, which I actually will definitely argue is more about movement than like a trick, because it's very deliberate the way you move through a room, and usually we express that through moving as fast as possible. However, in this case, we express it not only through that, but also through moving as deliberately as possible. It's not just the closest jump you can make. It's not just the farthest jump you can make. It's about the middlest jump you can make, which is honestly terrifying. What a setup from Sabo! Holy crap! Just getting rocket launched across the elevator room. That was such an amazing zip skip. Let's see what Ednolium has on the docket for us. Not going to get the D boost. He is going to go for a sort of middle speed setup, and unfortunately is going to need a backup. But the 3rd chime is the try. He gets it in, and that is still faster than taking the rail of shame, as some call it. So this next section of the game, which by the way, we're about 1 loading screen apart if you want to think about it in a more concrete term than mere seconds and minutes, which who even knows what those are. At this point, we're going to be going into Cataris, and it is similarly trick-dense to Artaria, but I think every single trick is more demanding, which honestly makes you wonder how designed the speedrun route was in this game, because you usually think of speedruns as happening like very organically. It's the community that figures things out, but like when there's something so elegant as there's a run-defining trick in the first area, it's pretty hard. It's water ass. And then you think about Cataris. What's the run-defining trick that happens here? Atom skip. Atom skip saves so much more time and yet is so much harder. It is a difference of kind, these two tricks. But they're willing to make that elevation from one area to the next. Sabo missing not only the 5-up boost, but also the backup, which is a little bit of a shame. That is some time that Ednolium could potentially save right back. But right now they're in pretty similar positions, having the same missile count, both having an E-tank. Ednolium goes for the setup that I prefer personally for 5-up boost and gets it first try. So that's really cool. And Sabo crushed that Hell Run with 97 health. That is why you get that E-tank, ladies and gentlemen. And those that identify with neither of the former. Alright, so good Hell Run from both players. We're on to the second little run of the game where we go to all these lava switches, just like one lava switch, directly to the next lava switch, directly to the next lava switch, directly to atom skip. So we're going to see the attempt at Hell Pseudo from Ednolium, I am 99% sure. Sabo, on the other hand, he seems to have skipped the attempt at Hell Pseudo, which is, of course, when you go into the heated room below this switch that Sabo just turned on and attempt to do a pseudo wave into it from the back, and that is Ednolium saving a nice little chunk of time. That means that he is really only a few seconds behind, honestly, at this point, because he had just saved so much time. He shot the switch pretty much right after Sabo with that second try Hell Pseudo. That was nice to see. Oh my goodness. So we're on to Atom Skip for both players. This is another huge difference maker. This can be a great equalizer sometimes, but sometimes it can make the leads just become that much more drastic. Right now it looks like it's going to be the great equalizer, as they are both in the same room attempting the same trick. By all metrics known to man, that means tied, except for that Sabo gets it right after Ednolium does his second attempt, leaving him in the dust. That looked like a almost good start, but the wall jump was not quite there. We're not seeing the last wall jump from Ednolium. I cannot quite tell from the stream whether or not he knows more than I do about the exact pixel position of these shockwaves on the wall jumps, but from my perspective, it almost looks like he's throwing on the last wall jump. I love that we have player cam on Ednolium. He's a very expressive player. You can kind of see, oh no, he's entering stages of grief about this trick. That's sad. Okay, looks like he's kind of gained a little bit more composure. He feels a little bit more human right now. Meanwhile, Sabo is perhaps about to go high-five Ednolium as he is making his way back to the Atom Skip room to make the return trip and gets the melee over the Magnet ME. Oh, and right as Ednolium gets Atom Skip. So, yeah, once again, you know, if you want a more tangible unit of time, they are one Atom Skip sequence away from each other. So, nice melee over those stairs from Sabo. It makes it so that you don't have to touch two ledges, which means that you're getting to the ground faster. But have you considered that you could do a slide and then a melee instead of a melee? Makes you think, doesn't it? So Sabo is in the last little rung of Caterus. It's pretty much just basic movement. You're just going up through this little mini platform section. Kind of the climb 3, if you don't think about it at all. We're going to go very sideways. Actually, no, this is like a tiny little map of Artaria. Holy crap. Wow, this game contains multitudes of itself, as Ednolium gets caught by the Green Emmy. Unfortunate. That is going to put another tangible chunk of time between them. A little bit more algebraic, however, as it is one atom skip multiplied internally by the time of one Emmy death at one specific point. Yeah, so Dairon is a little bit more forgiving, at least. You know, it's a nice little place to de-stress, hopefully, with any luck, because after all you've been through in Artaria, you know, doing Water Ass, doing Magus Skip, fighting Corpius, and then going through Caterus with the even worse fate of getting over one wall 2 times, it can be a little bit tilting if maybe sometimes that doesn't always go your way. And the thing about Dairon is it's pretty much just a fall and then a climb. The climb, yeah, it's the most stressful we've had so far. It's the climb 4 in all the worst ways. But if you think about it, that's still better than something like Water Ass on a good day. So it's still nice. It's a nice little breather. And like you go into the dark room and you see this like fog coming off of the background. That fog tells a story. It tells you that might even be not fog, but like fog, like actual fog, like condensed air or condensated air. And that means that it's cold in here. And the nice thing about the cold and the dark is it has a calming effect on the human physiology. Nice movement from Sabo through that room. I love the standing melee to get the Jerry out of the way. I don't know if it's faster to do standing or dash melee. I'll be honest, I don't have that knowledge for you. Maybe someone in chat does. Maybe people in chat have different opinions, actually. That'd be the most interesting. But it tells a story of a cold place, and the cold place has a calming effect on the physiology of humans, and therefore it is a good place to calm down after all that stress from Artaria and Caterus. Unfortunately, after Dairon, we're back to Caterus, and Caterus means leaving Caterus, and leaving Caterus means Artaria. And Artaria, that means Varia. And Varia, well, that means Kraid. I think everybody understands what I'm saying. So Sabo returning to Dairon as Ednolium turns on the power. Returns on the power, because you got to imagine it was on at some previous point and is now returning to that state of being on, and therefore is also fair to call it returning the place on. Yeah, so Ednolium was a dash melee guy in that scenario. Now, Ednolium is a very big believer in optimizing room by room. And so I think that he has probably given this issue some thought, and either he has an opinion of which one is easier to consistently do better, or he has an idea, a true notion of which is actually better. We're going to see Charlie's on this central unit from Sabo. Very clean. I just love the back and forth motion there. I kind of have a more sort of weaving style personally. I know that Ednolium also kind of practices the weave, as it were. So the very like straightforward back and forth Charlie pattern, like that kind of that you know, I'm always talking about how movement tells a story about the player. Like that movement is combat, and that combat was movement. To Sabo, the game is just the game. Now, to Ednolium, I think that he thinks of it kind of as combat and movement. he thinks of the macro route and the micro route kind of differently. These are different things you can do. It's like you learn the macro route in any percent unrestricted. You learn the micro route in all bosses, no major glitches. So yeah, I'm excited to see how Ednolium handles the boss fight here. It's going to be another Charlie. Get 1, 2, 3. His Charlies do look a little bit faster. However, they are also a lot more erratic. So maybe on an average race, that is, could be good or bad. But in this case, it was definitely good because, holy crap, he destroyed that central unit. It's obliterated. Out of existence. Not on ZDR anymore. It has moved on to Valhalla. Yeah, they're both going for the sort of mainstream historical quick kill on Morphball Emmy. Ednolium, I know, used to be a big Professor Stupid enjoyer before the tragedy that befell us all, where we learned that Professor Stupid doesn't actually save much time. And I'm sorry for anyone who was affected by that tragedy. So we got Ednolium here on getting the Morph Ball. I'm gonna do the same little bit of falling movement, going through tunnels, making sure everything's in order there, while Sabo is going through the Varia climb. Having a little bit of trouble off the start. Second attempt to kill the enemy, and also got the what is sometimes called in the community the DNF tank, or the DNF missile. No, in this case it's the E part. The DNF E part. Some people just call them DNF pickups. So DNF stands for did not finish, which is what it says next to your name if you forfeit a race on racetime.gg. And so the joke is, if you pick that missile, energy part up, you may as well DNF. You may as well forfeit, because it wastes so much time. It wastes like 2, maybe even 1 second to pick up that E part, and yet you did, despite the fact that you will see no benefit from it at any point, because you're not going to be collecting 4 E parts. You're going to be collecting 1 because you don't want to collect any, because you only need 2 E tanks. Sometimes you don't even need 2. Sometimes you just need 1, but a lot of people think they need 3. But nobody thinks they need 4. So Sabo had a pretty good Varia climb, and now he's going to have a pretty good Varia ascent. I guess, yeah, the Varia climb was good. The part before it was a little bit rocky, but ooh, okay. Ednolium having a similar sort of hardship there, as I think he was going for the morph shot to open the charge beam door, which is one of those things that a lot of people really hate. It's a piece of movement where the goal is essentially to get into the morph ball hole, not by climbing into it, but instead by morphing midway through a jump. That's already like an optimization we use kind of everywhere. In some places it is a bit hard, but we try to use it pretty much everywhere. But for the we also try to open doors before we get to them, because if you open it right as you touch it, then you have to wait for the opening animation to finish. And most doors open relatively quickly, but you don't want to be even giving up even that tiny little amount of time. So it's 2 things that we try to do that normally we don't think very much about, but now like they're both being stressed at the same time. So yeah, it's a bit of a difficult trick, and can be a little bit tilting to fail it, because you're reaching very high with that trick. Sabo is going to be going for the missile spam method on Kraid, which is very interesting. He takes half damage during this first phase. However, with very, very good missile firing, you can actually get... Oh my goodness. Okay, you can get him to basically die right after the first like mini phase, but oh my god, that was so cracked what Sabo just did. Because he did a pretty much perfect single wall jump to get up to the magnet, but messed up and jumped way too high and was in morph ball form and tried to catch the magnet on the way down and did not succeed. And then he just did another perfect magnet jump, or another perfect single wall jump to the magnet. Pretty much. That was the weirdest Kraid fight I have ever seen in my life. Like, it was so meticulously perfect and yet also so jank. So we see the diffusion beam pick up from Sabo here. That is going to allow us to do a lot of stuff. We would all love very much to skip it, but unfortunately that's just not how Gravity Suit works. That's just not how NMG works. Also, we have to fight Kraid anyway, so like you may as well do it for all bosses. So okay, we're seeing an abandoned first half of an attempt from Ednolium, and then he also accidentally does an extra jump on the magnet, but he gets it after 1.5 attempts, which is strictly the studs better than the 2 attempts Sabo had. Because, fun fact, 2 is a bigger number than 1.5, and we're trying to go for kind of golf rules. We're trying to get low times, so the more stuff you do, the more time it takes to do that stuff. Just in case anybody here hasn't learned causality yet, there's your lesson of the day. The lucky 10,000. I've been very impressed by Sabo's consistency at what I would generally call the hard tricks so far. He got pretty much just like 2-shot pseudo. Actually, wait, no, the pseudo was a little bit to take a little long. With the pseudo, he got quite a bit before Ednolium, and then Atom Skip, he also got faster than Ednolium, despite them both being tied when they got to doing the Atom Skip trick. Sabo got it so much faster that it kind of made the lead grow instead of shrink, which you would normally expect in that situation. And then he also, has basically been nailing things. Like, even though he had to do the single wall jump twice on Kraid, he hit it perfectly both times. That was really, really impressive. He's kind of having some silly mistakes, like he did take the counter sequence on Kraid, and obviously missing the magnet after doing a perfect single wall jump is a little bit silly as well. But again, yeah, he's just like totally like on top of everything. Playing like Tass, some say. Ednolium skipping the or missing the first part of the early grapple skip. Seems that he missed the wall jump, or possibly the Cody jump. I was not looking at the screen, unfortunately. But luckily, that is the side to have a kerfuffle with grapple skip if you are going to have one. If you fall on the right side, you can't make it back at all. You just have to reset or wait to die, which resetting is faster than waiting to die, so you just, you obviously load a checkpoint. But on the right side, or sorry, on the left side, you can make it over just fine. So we got them going in opposite directions on the elevator at this point. Ednolium is coming out to go to Artaria, get Grapple Beam. Sabo just came from Artaria, has Grapple Beam, and is back in Dairon. So is, back on our tangible differences between the runs thing, they are slightly less than an early grapple away, which is actually not too bad. Ednolium, keeping it competitive, keeping it within reach. Anything can happen in a race setting because these are no reset runs. You only get one shot at this. And unfortunately, Sabo is going to use that one shot to get kind of a mini nightmare scenario with the, yellow Emmy, short of getting caught by it, I suppose. The worst thing that you would want is that you get the bad spawn and then you fail the platforming to get up to the bad spawn and be able to cloak past it. We are going to not see Sabo go for the the cloak, the pseudo, the dark room pseudo. We're not going to see him go for the dark room pseudo. And that was actually good on his part, because that movement through there was extremely clean. Skipped the ledge, got the morph ball fall, did a very, very early grapple to the magnet surface, pretty much as early as you could, and definitely grappled over very far to the right. So just an extremely clean movement from Sabo. I just realized I had forgotten to change the audio for quite a while, so I do apologize for anybody who is attentive to that detail for taking so long. But we are on Sabo's audio now. With the early grapple, able to take a tiny little shortcut after bomb to avoid going through 2 load screens. Not like big area load screens, but just like room transition screens. Okay, so a bit of a weird... I think what Sabo was trying to do was solid, where he kind of positioned himself in the middle of the well where you do hole-in-one, and then kind of tried to morph and suddenly start accelerating to the left. But did it a little bit late, fell into the water, missed hole-in-one. This is not a golf tournament, but if it were, and speedrunning is kind of golf rules, except for instead of the least number of strokes, you want to have the least number of seconds. That is a bit of a mark on this run. Not a mark against Sabo as a runner. I respect both of these players immensely. They are extremely strong players of the game, highly passionate, great movement, amazing knowledge, very helpful, good people, fun to be around. However, a bit of a mark on this one particular speedrun, that he did not get hole-in-one on the golf simulator. Good coyote jump out of the hole for Sabo. That is the fastest way to do this first section. Also, can we just talk about how tight that quick rise was? Whoa. We're kind of moving away from the quick rise meta slightly in the coming minutes, because we are about to get flash shift, which allows us to kind of skip around rooms really, really fast. There are still quick rises, to be sure, and occasionally we'll even, slide off a ledge here or there or do a melee. But broadly speaking, the current meta is on its last legs, and we are about to enter the flash shift meta right after this backdoor flash shift, which Sabo does not get first try. The bomb placement on the first bomb is a bit high, and you do need to be a little bit below the ceiling for the timing to work out on backdoor flash. However, got the adjustment pretty quickly. It was still a little high, but it was well within the threshold of working on that second attempt. And the first attempt didn't even take very long. So altogether, a fantastic backdoor flash experience from Sabo, as he just walks proudly into the flash shift meta. We're going to be flash shifting here. We're going to be flash shifting there. Not in the water, though. No flash shift in the water, unfortunately. There we can do the ball boost, which is a very cool little bit of movement in this game. Essentially, if you are walking towards a ledge and then you morph as you leave the ledge, you will just gain the momentum forward of Samus rolling into a wall or something. That's obviously not the actual explanation. I don't think they're converting her rotational speed into her horizontal speed, but for some reason it produces a similar effect to if they were doing that. Ednolium getting a very clean first try backdoor flash shift, it looked like. I see him making some funny faces right now, so I perhaps could be wrong, but he's a very expressive player, so it is hard sometimes to know whether that is a overreaction or just him being himself. Sort of a class clown act there going on. And if you think about it, we are all students of this game, so it's not a bad analogy, if I do say so myself. Both players, it seems, are going to be going for the right side pseudo in Verenia, which is, you know, the same as the Dark Room pseudo, which Ednolium is a big fan of pointing out and doing both, whereas Sabo actually did not do the Dark Room pseudo, but was still able to break it out in the context of the right side Verenia pseudo. So very, very, very good game knowledge there. We're going to see these very alien Charlie is coming out once more in this fight. Kind of was forced to convert to playing something a little bit more proximal of what a human would play like because of the way that the Rinkas were approaching him in the middle of that sequence. But definitely you saw him converting back to the absolutely insane, geometrically perfect Charlies he was doing back and forth afterwards, or before that. And yeah, Speedgaming is very kind of one of the big letdowns of this game, if I had to say, because when you're just running from it, it's one of the most intimidating things in this entire game because it is faster than you, and you don't have that many movement options until you have flash shift, and sometimes you skip flash shift. But then you fight him in the speedrun perspective. Like, theoretically, this should be like the final evolution of your relationship with this creature that you have learned to fear. And he's just kind of a pushover. You just kind of aim at the ceiling and then he dies. There's really not a whole lot to it. That sort of leaves the way open for different relationships with different Emmys as you progress through the game, though. So it's still, even by that metric, not necessarily a bad thing. That was such a clean slide morph there by Sabo. That was like slide morph, instantly sparking. Like there was no like morph time where he was like waiting and making sure that he had it and that he could start the ball spark. He just knew. And of course the slide into the morph is a little bit of a micro optimization. You might think, oh, why don't you just speed the whole way to that section and then you don't need to do the slide morph. But if you think about it, by doing the slide morph, you're able to slide and then morph. Whereas in the alternative scenario, you would be standing and then morph. That sounds better, or it at least sounds the same, right? But you think about how long it takes to do those two. You morph out of slide frame 1. You do not morph out of stand frame 1, and you certainly don't morph out of run frame 1 either. So if you've ever been mashing away at ZR like a monkey, wondering if maybe you could get the morph ball and the Samus forms to just alternate back and forth, then unfortunately not quite. That's why you can't do it. You see Sabo missing the pre-Quiet Robo speed keep. And also having a little bit of trouble with this fight. It's a little bit of an annoyance when the patterns don't quite work out in your favor, because there are a lot of attacks that the robot does that chases after you, and if you need to kind of use your use the hit that you can take to get your iframes like a third of the way through the room, it becomes a little bit hard to make it so that you can get your Shine Spark stored before they do an attack from the other side of the room, if you get 2 of those very fast attacks back to back. So all in all, not a disaster by any means. I would even say that Sabo had a pretty good Verenia 1. But, you know, not quite to his standard. And Ednolium is also having a little bit of trouble, but I would probably say this is about comparable, and so it really just comes down to whether or not he can get this perfect Chozo Robo fight, and it looks like he pretty much does. That was like model. That was what we go and train at the academy to learn. was exactly that. Had a little bit of trouble after the fight. Now, we do also recall that Sabo similarly missed that morph, that speed morph that Ednolium just did, so I would say they're both comparable on that performance overall. You know, the things that Ed got right, Sabo messed up, but, you know, Sabo was a little bit faster overall in terms of how much of a big deal the small things were. And now we are on our way to Berenia. Berenia 3, 2, 2, 2. Yeah, Berenia 2. And we're going to be doing quite a long speed keep if all things go according to the optimal plan. But, of course, the fully, like, end-to-end true link of Berenia 2 is very, very difficult. It's rather rare to see, but we are going to see this slick speed keep from Ednolium. That's kind of one of his tricks that he really practiced a lot. I think in preparation initially for AGDQ 2023, I recall him popping off quite exuberantly when he got that trick first try against Manijor in the race that 80,000 have seen. Number possibly inaccurate. Just, you know, don't check it. Okay, so we're in, like, kind of the first part of the speed keep work out just fine, and then Sabo is instead going to be going for flash shifts the rest of the way, which, to my understanding, is technically the more optimal movement in this section, and we just talk about how he did it perfectly the whole way in. Crazy stuff. Crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. Big jump. Get the damage boost to cancel the Shine Spark into the flash shifts backwards. Misses the third flash shift to get up, but was able to do a backup with a perfect little grapple onto that tiny little grapple target, which is, in most of the other Metroid games that have grapple, very annoying to get. In this game, you don't really mind it so much because you normally have access to the magnet walls, and the magnet walls are more plentiful, and they're very large targets. But occasionally, you do actually want to grab the tiny targets. I don't know, you know, it's weird. Just, you don't think about it, but these things are true. They happen. They're important. They happen. They are important. Sorry, I think I mixed up some verbs there. Ooh, fancy little ascension from Sabo. We saw the wall jump to get up halfway there to give a more favorable angle on the grapple beam onto the ceiling into a perfect little flash hit. That was some spicy stuff right there. Love to see it. Alright, so Ed is going to do the same one cycle on Dragaiga that we saw from Sabo, most likely. It seems that he is going to take a counter in order to get a refill on missile and health. I also just noticed that Ednolium took the third E-Tank, which I believe he's normally a 2-tank kind of guy. But, you know, sometimes you just want that extra little assurance. Just that tiny bit of health. It can make a big difference depending on the run. So Sabo is going to be getting the Shine Spark into the gold Robo, and then it's pretty much just pelting him with missiles after that point. You don't even actually want to take the counter opportunity. It would maybe not have been so bad in that specific scenario because it was only one missile away from dying anyway. But generally, you don't want to take the missile opportunity or the counter opportunity if you have the missiles and health to not care about that, because for the for the Gold Robo fight and many other boss fights in this game, you take the counter opportunity basically never, because it is they take half damage during their vulnerable phase. And so that's why, for example, taking the Kraid counter cutscene was slower when Sabo did that earlier. And, you know, would have been slow against the Golden Robo. But both players knowledgeable about that fight to an extreme degree and get through it without any issues at all. First try, never die, deathless runs expected from both players. From this point forward, I just remembered bomb at me. So yeah, honestly, no, not too bad. You're still kind of keeping it competitive, like I was saying before. Ednolium with a very clean missile weave. Not like in the traditional sense where you tap R as you're mashing or using turbo, but like he shot a missile above the enemy's head so that it would hit the door, and then after he had fallen past the enemy, he shot beam to hit the door. And that was just a cool little bit of like a flex, honestly. It meant a lot to me. It looked really cool. We got Illusion from Sabo coming up. There's just going to be a lot of flash shifts to Plasma Beam pretty much. But then after Plasma Beam, we got some speed keeps. I know how you kids like speed keeps. Flash chains are cool too. Nobody hates flash chains. I'm not saying that. You know, don't get on me about flash chains. I know they're good. I know they're cool. It is, you know, a speed keep, it's a classic. Going to see some flash shifts through the enemies. That's another little trick I find very charming. It's not a very difficult trick, but it is just kind of a funny combination of utilizing invisible data when we do that, because it means that we have to know how sliding into an enemy versus walking into an enemy differ, and how flash shift and iframes interact, because normally you can't flash shift past or through enemies. Even if you try, you will stop on the enemy, you won't even bonk with the enemy. So you have to know that iframes make that rule get ignored. And so it's just a cool trick. It's just a cool trick, alright? Okay, it's a cool trick. Yeah, so Sabo getting the counter on the enemy. It's always a little bit awkward when you miss the first counter, because like it will melee you, or it'll give you a counter opportunity pretty much instantly if you approach it. And some people even like melee into it so that they bounce off, and then like if they just melee right afterwards, they'll get the melee again. Or like, they'll get the melee with the proper timing. Ooh, that was a very favorable enemy damage boost by Ednolium there. Getting the perfect speed keep through post Plasma Illusion. He soared at the bottom, made it through perfectly up to the top, and then shine sparked the boss door. So that's a nice little thing that's gonna save him a little bit of time. You know, lower the difference between his run and Sabo's. Very, very cool. Hardest trick in the game coming up from Sabo, however, which is remembering to skip this cutscene. Veteran player, knows what he's doing, gets it first try very quickly. His setup there where he pressed plus and then minus instantly as soon as the cutscene started, which is masterful. You don't really see that kind of stuff from just any old runner. You gotta see that from a master of the game. Now, next up we have a really cool speed keep through the Ice Emmy zone. My favorite part about this speed keep is that it's RNG dependent whether or not you can do the longest, coolest version of it. Luckily, Sabo, with his fantastic movement, which has been very on point all night, is able to get the proper RNG to show off that speed keep. And I, the commentator, delighted, and I hope that you, the audience, delighted as well. Okay, similar look on the pre-central unit fight, and he's going to do a perfect little diagonal spark as soon as he gets speed. God, this guy, just very smooth right now. Ednolium got the second best spawn point for the Ice Emmy and did the proper adjustment to kind of hold off on his wall jumps so that he did not die after attempting the speed keep. Also a very, very strong showing of just his technical mastery of this game. Sabo had a little bit of trouble getting up the wall to get to the Ice Emmy, and now it has crawled on the ceiling And he's having a little bit of trouble finishing off this fight because now at this point is sort of in a what's the word I'm looking for? Purgatory, where the ice Emmy continuously has been crawling back and forth against the wall to keep up with him. He even got caught by the Emmy after an attempt to fix this, but he gets the counter. However, the lead has completely shrunken at this point. They are in the same fight. I repeat, they are in the same fight, and Ednolium has more damage on the faceplate, breaks the faceplate, starts charging, and takes out the ice Emmy and takes the lead. That is how we do it. I'm going to switch to Ednolium's audio now. I forgot to switch the audio over before. I do not want to forget to do it again. Just as I'm talking about how Ednolium took the lead, I see that he is the realization of the difference in the times have flipped, and that realization just hit him. That was really, really cool. Those are the moments, sometimes it's kind of sad if things are going bad to see an emotive player, but when things go right, it's just so good to see them get that just absolutely joyous expression on their face. Now we've got first try ledge warp set up from Ednolium. It looks like he could hardly believe it himself as well. Sabo having a little bit of trouble breaking out the Enki and is he knows. Okay, yeah. It looks like he almost forgot. But he uses a short boost setup for his ledge warp, which involves flash shifting backwards, canceling the flash shift, and then sliding to basically restart the momentum, but also kind of work against it. I don't know the technical details of short boost that much. I apologize if this is technically wrong, but effectively the point, you get the idea. It's just a flash shift backwards that you kind of cancel, and that puts you into the proper position to get a ledge warp setup. So Ednolium is going to be doing the frame 1 Shine Spark onto this Gavaran Chozo. That involves using your spin boost in order to get over, flash shifting over, and then Shine Sparking in place. Because in this game, if you are Shine Sparking in place while something comes into existence over you, and this happens a lot with X enemies, like you'll see that against Golzuna a little bit later in the game, that will make it so that they take the damage from that Shine Spark frame 1. Ednolium also typically goes for this against the Gavaran Robo, the Chozo Robo, the gold one. I do not recall if he got it this run, but that's just another example of where such a technique is useful. So Ednolium is going for the classic, where he uses the Ice Beam to break the Enki up top and then store a Shine Spark to get over to this green teleportal at the bottom. We're going to be seeing the exact same technique from Sabo and very clean movement to get into the hole. There is not very much of a difference between these two players at this point. So there is a little bit less than a full load screen between these two players at this point, as Ednolium and Sabo briefly occupied the same screen. And so we're going to be seeing early gravity as the next big trick. This is one that is not too complicated, but always one that can just go not work out perfectly depending on which little micro movement you didn't do just quite right effectively. But Ednolium gets it first try. Very good. We're also going to be seeing Sabo get it first try. If I had to put a bet down, it looks like he did as he gets through this first section. He had a slight pause on the slope, but that was not a big enough problem for him to lose the Shine Spark storage. Ednolium doing what my favorite little piece of movement in this game is when you have space jump or spin boost and you fall down in morphball form, you unmorph and then you do your double jump or whatever to get onto the ledge. Because normally if you don't have the jump upgrades, you have to fall all the way down and then climb up basically. And it's only a few seconds, but it just feels so good to skip them. I guess that's kind of the base urge that sort of underlies all speedrunning, if you think about it, is just the like, oh man, but wouldn't it be so cool to do that slightly faster? That urge, that's why we're here. That's why these players are here. That's why these players are playing here. Next up is Frozen Artaria. This is another iconic section of the game. I would honestly not even enjoy this game from a casual perspective if not for Frozen Artaria. But Frozen Artaria is the coolest thing from a world building perspective that they've ever done in a Metroid Dread game. Or in a Metroid game, not just Dread, obviously. So effectively, we're going to be going through this first section of the game. We're going to be taking a rerun through the tutorial area, effectively. Except for now, this time, we're entirely different. We are changed. We are not just a slide and a melee off of a ledge. We are Flash Shift, we are Speed Booster, we are Plasma Beam, we are Morph Ball, we are Shine Spark. And so it kind of recontextualizes everything. And you also have these boss fights, which we are going to see briefly on both screens, a red Chozo, so that is about the difference between these two players at this point. And afterwards, we're going to be going through Frozen Catarus and fighting Z57, but for now, let's just talk about Frozen Artaria, because this is another one of those things where it's not quite a difference maker to the same level as like Atom Skip or whatever, but it can be a big differentiator between people of varying skill levels and how they handle Frozen Artaria. So Ednolium almost got the full speed keep. Ooh, and I know he's out for blood right now because he went for that spark up and then flash shifts instead of taking the speed keep up to this section, because he is such a lover of that speed keep that if he is not doing the speed keep because the quote-unquote boring movement is slightly faster, that means that he really, really, really wants to win. This is not about just going through the game, having a nice little casual playthrough with a timer next to it. This is a speed run to Ednolium right now. This is an attempt. This could PB. This could world record. That's the mentality he has right now. I don't know if any of those things are literally true, but that's the mentality. A little bit of trouble onto the elevator D-boost, which, you know, if you think about it, he had a little bit of trouble on the elevator D-boost at the beginning of the run as well. This one, not quite as catastrophic, and if you'll also recall, he found the backup that first time around. So we're kind of seeing the story that I laid out at the beginning of this race come to fruition. At the beginning, I said that Ednolium has pretty strong movement and pretty good trick accuracy, but Sabo had also very good movement and amazing trick accuracy. However, Sabo's had a little bit of bad luck. And so Ednolium's good trick accuracy, it has allowed him to establish this lead. But still, you know, Sabo with the very strong movement, extremely capable of clawing it back in the last 20 minutes of this run. We're kind of in the combat gauntlet at this point, as right after Experiment Z57, we are going to be fighting the Twin Robos, and then Golzuna, and then Eskew, and then another Twin Robos, and then Wave Emmy, and then Chozo, and then Chozo, and then Chozo, and then Ed is going to feel himself against the Experiment Z57 fight, as his Charlies are so extremely on point. He is taunting Experiment Z57. I previously thought that the Charlies into the background were an expression of frustration, but I have been told by the man himself, Ednolium, that in fact it is an expression of taunting the beast before us, which he has just defeated with great speed, putting him into a great position to hold on to this lead, depending on what Sabo does right here, right now. If he can get this Flappy Bird Shine Spark, you know, start the Shine Spark there. He is going to store it while bonking on one of the projectiles, and then Shine Spark directly from the left side to the right side. Now, Ed's kill, that was like rock and roll. Sabo's kill, that was jazz. You know what I'm saying? It was jazz. Okay, Sabo seems to have flicked his stick from left to right a little bit too early, and so was not able to get the full speed keep into this lava room, but it's not really a huge deal. You just kind of get into this room relatively quickly. The nice thing about Flash Shift is even in places where speed boosting is the faster option, if your flash chains are on point, then you have the perfect backup as soon as you mess up the speed keeps, because the speed keeps can just go away in an instant. But afterwards, you just flash shift. And if you're good at flash shift, you didn't even lose that much time. So we're going to get a screw attack for Ednolium that will allow him to get out of this room, go back to Berenia, and break on to the upper parts of the gravity suit section, and that is where the twin robos will be fought, who are a fight that it's pretty hard. You know, it's pretty hard to do perfectly accurately. There's a lot of moving parts. Specifically, there are exactly 2 moving parts. They're both robots. And the thing about moving parts is when you stick your hand into them, sometimes your fingers get crushed by the gears. So we'll see if Ednolium gets his hand crushed in the metaphorical gear crush of the twin robos. They are both gold. In a perfectly vanilla playthrough where we were doing the intended first casual route, we would have actually encountered a different set of twin robos prior to this, and they would have been 1 gold, 1 silver. But because we've done our sequence breaks, we've tempted God, we've defiled him, we are here fighting the gold robos prior to the gold and silver robo combo. Ednolium having a little bit of difficulty keeping the robots in the same row during this fight, as they were kind of occupying exact opposite ends of the top platform for most of the fight. And that's really annoying because it means that if you want to continue hitting both, you kind of have to be inside of the body of one of them. And so we're seeing a similar situation from Sabo right now, where he got the counterable attack on or over to the right side, while the left side Chozo Robo stayed in there the entire time. It wasn't quite as bad as Ednolium's. They both were pretty close to as good as they could have gotten with that RNG, but they are slightly there was a slight difficulty with keeping the robots taking maximum damage at all times. I believe that Sabo's was a bit of a time save over Ednolium. So now we're going to see a Shine Spark up here. Unfortunately, it is not faster to Shine Spark this boss door outside of MS%. Then we're going to see a speed boost into the room and a speed boost across the room, back and forth the entire time, to get this crazy 8 4-spark Golzuna setup that Ednolium is going to hit pretty much perfectly, because now all you got to do is shoot the guy, Shine Spark up, shoot the 4 bombs in Morph Ball while you're waiting for the item to be grabbable, so that you have cleared the cache of your Morph Ball bomb attacks or whatever the heck is going on in that scenario. Because what goes on is that by laying the 4 bombs prior to collecting it, your cross bomb will actually lay in the next room. The thing about the cross bombs are that they're very bad and they don't work, and they just advertise a certain function which they are unable to perform, which is consistently laying a cross bomb if no cross bomb is active and you press R and Y while in Morph Ball form. It simply doesn't do that. Not consistently. So, you want to be able to know the cursed, dark, alchemical secrets that lay behind the cross bomb and be able to navigate that space accordingly. And both players showed a knowledge of that dark ritual. They both played the 4 bombs. We're going to see a sort of reverse greatest time save in the world from Ednolium to get across Hanubia, because we're basically only in this part of Hanubia because we have to be. If we could have taken a tram directly through Hanubia, we would have, but unfortunately this is just the way we need to go in order to quickly go from Gavaran to Ferenia for the purpose of killing some of our last bosses. We've got a few. Like I said earlier, we're kind of in the gauntlet phase. So this next section, we're going to be going into Ferenia to collect storm missiles. And then from storm missiles, we're going to fight the Twin Robo and then get Wave Beam. And so that's 4 bosses in this quick dip in and out of Ferenia. Ooh, I love that melee off the ledge there, halfway up, that Ednolium did there. Because, like, he just used his flash to get over there, and, like, the cooldown, like, he waited too long to do a chain, and it hasn't been long enough to do a cooldown, or for a cooldown to have finished, and then be able to do another flash shift. So instead, he had to, just do a little micro adjustment, you know, make sure you're using all of your resources properly. And in this case, one of his resources was the dash melee, which you so rarely get to see in this second phase of the game, where Flash Shift and Shine Spark are king. Oh my god, the movement is very surgical from Ed right now. I'm seeing him just like take just the lightest little breaths, and I can see from his gameplay that in those breaths he has divined the movement that he must do, and he executes it perfectly. Sabo, he's freeballing it a little bit more, you know. I'm feeling a little bit more of like a passionate, scrappy dog, just, you know, clawing their way back into the lead, slowly, split by split, making their attempt to win this race that is theirs to win or lose, but only by their own skill. So the lead is, again, you know, this is still relatively small. Ednolium is just like an item collection away from Sabo, still ahead. If he can carry it through these last 12 or so minutes, like that could be what it takes for him to walk away getting top 8 in this tournament out of an 11th seed. Okay, so we're going to see the storm missiles on the gate by Ednolium at the same time that Sabo does his first storm missile, so that's another concrete measurement of time you can think about. And then Ed is going to try and finish off both of these robots pretty much as quickly as possible, and he did a very good job of that. The only real issue being that the Silver Robo jumped down during the mashing phase, which Sabo also gets. I swear that they used to not do this. I don't know about any patch, if there's any AI, if it's all placebo. If I'm lying, it just feels like it used to be free. So they are both in the cold rooms on the way to this last Emmy zone, or at least the last Emmy zone where we're actually going to have to face an Emmy. For those that don't know, the last Emmy zone is exclusively populated in gameplay terms by one Chozo soldier. So Ed, you know, kind of doing the monk focus thing I was talking about, taking just a half second's breath to make sure that he was in the right position before doing the Shine Spark into the armor and then the screw attack onto the shell. From Sabo, we're going to be seeing the same approach taken to this fight. So similar performances there. Now Ed is going to fidget every single button he has on his controller in order to get himself psyched up for this plant kill that we're going to be seeing from both players, hopefully on the Wave Emmy, our final true Emmy fight. If you miss, I think it's 4 shots against this Emmy on its way to you can't get true plant kill. If you miss slightly less than that, you can't get the truest true plant kill. Ednolium gets the perfect jump over and is going to be going for the second fastest possible kill. Just one hop over to stay on the same platform and take down the wave Emmy. Sabo, we are seeing, it looks like the same technique. He does not get the long turnaround animation from the Emmy. He gets a shorter one, but it all works out just the same. Technically, that could actually be a little bit better because it means that he spent less time not being able to shoot the wave Emmy's faceplate. And they're healing when you're not shooting, in addition to you not shooting. So there are... the time loss is sort of multiplied by getting these small gap in shots versus the large gap in shots. You're going to be seeing a hopeful spin boost, speed keep from Ednolium. It works out perfectly fine. He is able to take the speed all the way through the enemy zone and out of the area to get to the elevator. Also going to shoot that that goop guy down there at the bottom, just kind of assert some dominance on that end. Sabo does not go for the speed keep, just kind of keeps it simple, does some wall jumps, does some flash shifts. It's all the same. We're all going to the same place. I think that somewhere deep in his heart, Sabo knows that he doesn't need some speed booster trick to make up the last bit of time. He's just gonna play better. That's his strategy right now. Ednolium entering this final section in Hanubia. The last two fights are these shielded Chozo soldiers. Now, we technically fought one of these before in Frozen Artaria, but at that time we were able to keep speed going into the fight and just skip the shield phase right off the bat. In this one, we have to do something a little bit more tricky by using these storm missiles in order to do enough damage that it will enter the phase where it's like a wild beast, and you fight that, and that will completely bypass all of the shield's health. It will just throw away the shield if you can do that. And Ednolium got a model fight. Perfect from start to finish. Absolutely perfect. You can either get like a 2-phase or a 3-phase on the shield, depending on how quickly you damage him and which animations he does, and just a bunch of different stuff. Both players getting a very good fight on the red Chozo. Ednolium picking up the remains of the red Emmy, which we killed in a cutscene that we skipped. And that is going to give him power bombs. Sorry, just the power bomb, the one, I guess. We need ammo, even though they start us with 2. No, by all metrics, they should say power bombs, because we have 2 in our inventory. So this is kind of an annoying part of the game. Ednolium got some good luck off the bat, so he's going to be at least blessed with the second best version of this section, depending on his luck. Yeah, it looks like he's going to be getting the second best version, because he did not get a power bomb drop from any of these robots, and you need another power bomb in order to be able to do the speed keep. And so he's going to need to waste a little bit of time farming. The alternative was to go to that ammo statue in this room and get the power bomb back that way, but that is very slow. If you're lucky and you get good drops, you can skip that. Unfortunately, it did not quite work out for Ed. Sabo, on the other hand, it is working out perfectly, but he does actually miss the speed keep. All in all, I don't know which one lost more time from that, but it's a little bit sad that neither of them were able to get it perfectly. Definitely another little thing. Just another reminder that anybody could win this race. It's totally anybody's game as we approach the second to last boss, both of them in the same fight. This is neck and neck. Ed is going to finish off the gold Chozo while Sabo is getting the phase shift. So if you want that concrete measurement of time, half of a mini boss. That is the difference. And Ravenbeak is the father of all bosses in this game. He has 3 phases. 2 of them are quite long. The first phase, you have a somewhat difficult trick that you need to perform partway through, where you skip his gold armor subphase by doing enough damage through, in Ed's case, the combination of storm missile locks and then careful turbo use. And I think in Sabo's case, it's going to be just hard mashing, which is technically a little bit faster, but obviously a little bit harder as well. I could also be wrong. And it is going to flash shift into this room, just lay a power bomb in this room. Keep it nice and simple. Don't worry about trying to keep speed through the way and then do another shine spark through a tiny hole or anything like that. Just keep it nice and simple. Sabo, on the other hand, is going to lay down a bomb in the previous room and do the shine spark up. Gets it through the hole, so that is very good to see as Ed starts pounding on Ravenbeak. Gets a very favorable phase 1. If he can just land this gold skip, then this is what he needs. He needs to keep it consistent and keep it ahead. He gets the perfect phase 1, exactly what you would imagine in your dreams if you dreamed of what you would want your PB Ravenbeak phase 1 to look like. He's now going to go into phase 2, which is mostly about luck, honestly. You kind of get these attacks where you're able to just pound him with damage the entire time, and then there are some attacks that require a little bit more of you. So Sabo actually missed the dash melee aim to dodge the machine gun fire there, and that is going to miss him one of his opportunities, allowing Ednolium to progress into phase 3. This could be big. Escape is likely to look similar for both players, so it is huge right now. If Ednolium can just finish this out, but he can't get the power bomb! He is stuck here, taking damage from Ravenbeak, from the sun, getting it all figured out, though. He is in phase 3 at the same time as Sabo. It is just about who finishes phase 3 faster. If they can get enough of a lead so the escape doesn't matter. Ednolium not taking the last counter sequence because he knows that he's so close to just finishing out this fight, and he gets it. All he has to do is not miss these 2 counters. It has happened before, but not today. Ednolium takes it from Ravenbeak. All bosses defeated. All that is left to do is get out of this place and get to his ship. Oh, Sabo died! No! That is so bad. That is a 3-minute time loss. Ednolium would basically need to fail escape multiple times if he was going to lose this race. I don't want to call it before it's over, but that is effectively what I'm going to do because Ednolium did not mess up the shot against the Ravenbeak X quick time event. It's pretty much the only thing that can go wrong. Honestly, this next section is just all movement. And don't get me wrong, there are optimal things you can do. There are tricks, there are shine sparks, there are optimizations just by sliding off of certain ledges, meleeing off of others. But it's not going to waste you a Ravenbeak's worth of time. So I would just like to say congratulations to our probable winner at this point, Ednolium. He is going to take the shine spark up this hole in this part of escape. It is slightly slower, apparently, but also very easy. And it also feels good. I can't imagine he is sweating too hard right now outside of the potential intrusive thought of, oh god, what if I somehow mess this up? But no, this is really good. He is going through the escape sequence without any major blemishes, not going for anything too fancy, just keeping it all simple. He's going to be approaching the shine spark up the shaft at 158. I kind of think of that as around par, basically, you know, just like within a couple seconds of the 2 minutes flat timer. Oh my goodness, he got the final shine spark of the run, and that is what it takes for Ednolium to become the winner of Losers 16th, earning himself in top 8 of the tournament. That is such a strong statement from a player that I know has been grinding out really, really hard in order to make it as far into the tournament. I know he was not happy with his qualifiers. He wasn't happy to get 11th seed, but beating the 5th seed Sabo is a huge moment for Ednolium. Congratulations. That is going to put him in position in the loser's bracket in top 8 to race. Sorry, this is not a fight. This is a race. He's going to race the winner of Jay and Grubdog. And that will be another very interesting match to keep an eye on for anybody keeping track of the tournament overall. Ednolium, an 11th seed, serial overperformer. And Jay and Grub being a 9th and 10th seed, so that should be another really good one to keep an eye on. Both fantastic players. Obviously, both of these players right here also just extremely talented. It really just came down, honestly, to the Ice Emmy and Ravenbeak. Like, out of the 30 bosses that they have to fight in this game, the difference maker was just 2. 1/15 of the run. Less than that, because you also have to consider all the movement, all the tricks. This was a really, really, really cool race. I'd love to see it be this close. So, Sabo going to finish with a 1:21, a respectable time. I know he is probably not happy with the result of this race, but both of these times, very good. Also, just noticing that Ednolium got a 1:19.40. Very, very solid time as a final time. So I am just waiting on both players to join the call, and we can get an interview from these two runners and talk about this amazing race. Hello, how are you feeling right now, Ed?
Not great.
No?
No, not really.
Care to elaborate?
I mean, you watched the same early game that I watched, right?
That's fair. That's fair.
Like, did you watch the same run?
I watched the whole thing. I was there. I was talking about it. But, I mean, hey, you won. You had a hell of a late game. You gotta be happy about that, right?
The late game was pretty good, yeah. I'm not mad about the late game. I had a couple of golds as well, which I was pretty surprised about. 2BTBH was the yeah, I don't know. It was good. I'm trying to make sure Sabo Chaff gets an invite here.
Yeah, we are just waiting on the other racer to join us. We can talk more about the race.
I'm just shooting him the invite directly, because I know the bot takes a really long time after you takes forever after you finish to actually send.
Oh, hello, Sabo. How are you doing?
Oh,
there he is.
Oh, I just got the invite. Cool.
After I sent it to you?
Yeah. Like right after I joined.
Tight.
GG though.
GG, dude. What happened?
So, like, every split that I did well on, like, 5 things would go wrong after, and it totally melted on Quiet Robe in the Ice Semi.
Really? What happened with Ice Emmy?
So I went for my usual setup for the kill, and I just did the flash wall cancels like way too fast, so I didn't get all the way up there. And that has never happened, but I was just rushing.
That sucks.
It's funny because I do that kill just because I'm like, oh, it's way more consistent, and it just fails when it matters. But
you know, It's
all
funny
good.
because like I was practicing that kill because I use that kill now because I love it and it's good and it's fast and like you really can just cause it to not work sometimes, like by flashing weird. And if you don't get the ledge hop the right way, the Emmy's like, yeah, I'm gonna take 20 minutes to come up to the door now.
Yeah, I was doing like a song and dance routine with the Emmy in that room. It took
That's
forever.
uncool. That's so uncool.
No,
Yeah,
that was a fun race though.
that was
You
kind of a
definitely
good
earned that
difference
win.
maker.
Wait, what was that? You both kind of spoke at the same time there.
Yeah, sorry. You go ahead, Sabo.
Oh, I was just saying that was a good race. Like you definitely earned that win.
It was I felt like I was going to lose the whole time, especially after my early game. Like I had like 15th try Adam skip and I died to green Emmy and I was like, that's it. GG. It's over. Run's over. Race is
I
over.
I saw you send that message, and I was like, he has no idea how inconsistent I am at mid game.
That's fair. I guess I've been grinding the mid game pretty hard.
I mean, it was really anybody's game all the way through Ravenbeak. You guys entered Ravenbeak like maybe 15, 20 seconds apart from each other, and that's definitely a fight that can vary by a lot.
Jeez.
Yeah, I
didn't
greeted
realize
the
we were that
sun because
far
I
up.
was like, okay, he has a lead, and I have to do like whatever I can to win. And if I die, it was gonna be a loss anyway. So, but
How many E-tanks did you take?
I take 3 in this cat.
Fair. I took 3 because I was feeling like, I don't know what, I was like, I got to take 3. I need the buffer. I don't want to stub my toe on Ravenbeak and die.
I should have taken like 4 or 5, man.
Dude, greeting the sun is, what attack was the sun for you? Was it like 2, 3?
It was like the first one.
Oh, dude, you can't greet
Oh,
the first attack sun. Are you kidding me?
I don't know. I was like, I might as well just go for it.
Dang, that's I got to give
I
you
mean,
props
imagine
for
if
that.
that had
That's
worked out,
nutsy,
though.
dude.
Like,
Yeah,
I'm
if
sure
that
that was
worked out,
close. I'm sure he was close to dying.
yeah, you were
At least
definitely
I'm just
pretty
gonna keep
deep into
telling
phase
myself
3.
that.
Oh, so
were
you
pretty
died
deep.
late into phase 3?
Yeah, I was dodging for a little
Oh.
while, and then I jumped into a laser.
Oh no, that's even worse. I feel your
Hey, my
pain though.
second Ravenbeak fight, that was a good one.
It was good. It was good. Nice.
Yeah, it
I was
was
happy
really
with the
solid.
second one.
I'm glad. I'm glad. I cooked up a new thing at the end of Frozen Artaria, but somehow dropped the final flash shift, and it made me really sad.
Oh, I I got stuck on the blob Emmy in like the speed room where you do like the climb, if you know what I'm talking about, the one where you usually melee. I missed my melee like 4 times and then just started mashing.
Oh, dang, that's rough. Like the melee tutorial room, like the climb.
Yeah. I missed that counter, and I was like, all right, well, I'll go for it
Jeez.
again. Just
And
missed it
then you
like
ended up
3
just
more
mashing.
times. Yeah.
That was me with there was something that happened to me at some point where like I was like I just had to do this jump like 4 or 5 times for no reason. I was just sitting in one spot and I was like, "Oh, I guess I just have to keep doing this cuz I don't know, it was like in bombs or something. I don't know. I feel like dumb little movement stuff like that happened to me like 100 times.
Yeah, I had some mistakes I've never seen myself make on Mario. Like I
Bro,
grabbed the E
same.
part and then I missed the ledge like twice after
You
that.
grabbed the E
Oh,
part?
I wanted to call out that section of the game, by the way, because I thought it was so cool how perfect your crate was, and then you like missed the magnet, but then you just did another perfect
Oh my
single wall jump
god.
right after anyway. Like just like I
I
don't
actually
even need this
reversed that
first one,
part.
whatever. I'll just do it perfect
Wow.
twice.
Yeah, that was
Just
because
casually doing
I was like, I'll
it.
just do the extra one, and then I morphed by accident, and that was the slowest fall ever. It was like it was happening in slow motion.
Slow-mo, yeah. Oh, you know what I just remembered? One of the things I had to me that happened in slow motion? I missed the first coyote jump in early grapple.
Oh, that happened in my practice earlier today, and I was so scared getting to that part.
I was like, how did I just soup here? I was just in commentary the other day talking about how nobody misses that jump anymore. No, like, I don't know. I don't know what happened.
You commentator cursed yourself.
Like, preemptively, like 4 days ago.
Ed's commentator curse versus the chaff curse. It just doesn't mix.
I just have like that's my stand. Somebody come up with my stand name for commentator's curse, because like, jeez, it's just part of my psyche. It just happens.
Don't fear the Reaper.
Perfect. Oh man. That sure was a run. I did PB
Just a
by
run.
9 seconds.
Oh, you got a PB? Nice.
I lost 45 seconds in Cataris because of the death and the horrific Atom skip. And I'm up against a Cataris that I lose 30 seconds to. Like, it's 30 seconds slower than my normal Cataris, and that one was 45 seconds slower than that, and I still PB'd by 9 seconds.
On the bright side, next PB is going to be really fun to run against.
Oh, it's not going to be super fun to run against. Oh,
you said you wanted to skip 118 anyway, so I mean, really, just get the 19
yeah,
on.
yeah.
You're on the fast track for that.
My sum of best is now a 115.59 though.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
I broke the barrier.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've been
Closing in
trying
on
to
that
catch up 'cause I got
4-minute
my
delta,
sub
yo.
beat. Oh, was
What's that?
Oh, whoops. Here you go first.
I was just saying I'm closing in on that 4-minute delta between my sum of best and my PP. What were you saying?
Yeah, before the race, you had like a 5-second lead on Sobs. So I was like, okay, I can't relax just because like there's a PB diff. Like he's clearly got it. I was hoping by the end I could at least get the Sob closer, but you cracked 115, so congrats on that.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I mean, like, no matter what happened, I felt like we were both gonna have to fight for our lives to stay in bracket in this match. Like, for sure. This, like, I was anticipating this match, but also like mildly dreading it. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I was excited to race against you, but I was also like, I wasn't comfortable until about 35 minutes into the run. Like, I got speed booster and I was like, okay, I can play the game now.
It was the same for me. I was like, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good going into Quiet Robe, and then everything fell apart in Quiet Robe, and I was like, all right, never saying that in my head again.
I went back to do the Quiet Robe speed keep 3 times and still failed it. Like, I failed the store once and failed the store again, and I was like, you know what? I'm doing this trick right now. And then I did the store and then just screwed it up and had to grapple anyway.
Yeah, I missed it too, but I went back for it once, missed it a second time. I was like, yeah, I'm just leaving. We're just gonna pretend this didn't happen.
You know what? We're just gonna pretend this didn't happen.
Yeah.
God, what a run of all time.
Yeah, fun race though. Honestly, I'm surprised it ended up coming out as close as it did.
I'm very surprised as well. I was convinced you were gonna be like a minute and a half ahead of me by the end of it.
It was actually really interesting because there were a lot of sizable leads. They just kept switching who had the very sizable lead.
That sounds right, honestly. Given this conversation that we just had, that sounds very correct. Yeah. I'm excited to watch it back.
Well, Ed, I hope in your next match the curses are over. You can play
Bro,
normally.
I'm gonna need it because I'm up against either Jay or Grub Dog. So like, okay, I'm screwed either way, right?
Yeah, that'll be a tough one. But I think if you're on, you got no curses. I think you should be winning.
I don't curse myself too hard.
That will be the day you break the 118, perhaps.
I'll just skip it. I'll just get a 117.
Yeah, in race.
In race, it'll be fine.
I would feel like the other person was cheating if they did that.
Actually, this early game before, I think it was before Quiet Robe. This was actually a 117 pace. It was behind
it really?
PB. Yeah, I was like, oh, maybe I might actually bring it back. This might break the curse. And then, of course, you know what happened next.
God forbid you self-pep talk, right?
Right.
The universe is listening in.
It is, for sure.
Yeah. Do either of you have anything you'd like to say about the race or any shout outs before we head out?
I mean, shout outs to Speedgaming and their staff and all that stuff because they're consistently awesome. And shout outs to Charlotte for comms. Shout outs to Chaff for being an awesome opponent who really made me shake in my boots. It was really nice to race you one-on-one. Appreciate the match,
I was prior to the tournament. I was really on the fence on joining, but even though I didn't maybe make it as far as I would have hoped, I'm glad I hopped in. This was really fun.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Shout out to Speedgaming for throwing this up.
Yeah, dude, definitely.
Alrighty, I think we are all done here. I will see everyone at a later time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.